Hello friends, Lissa here for another video. Today let's talk about overeating and emotional eating. Food is our fuel. We need it to live, we need it to nourish our bodies, but we've all grown up with different ideas of how much is the proper amount of food, what's too little, what's too much, and we've also connected a lot of emotional things with food from our childhood. We were taught to use certain things as reward. So, if you're a good kid, if you get A grades, if you had a fun Saturday, you get hot dogs or ice cream or pizza. It's a Friday night, it's a weekend, it's a trip, it's whatever. We connected good times with food, and that can cause the emotional eating aspect. But first, I wanted to talk about overeating. There is a fine line between what is too little and what is too much, because we all need a certain amount of calories every single day to sustain life. We need to burn a certain amount to keep our heart pumping, our lungs moving, our digestion going, our brain functioning. All of these body functions require calories, so we have to eat to use these body functions. And the problem comes when we want to change our diet because we're eating really unhealthy, but we don't know what to do. So we want to lose weight, so we cut our calories and we stop eating a lot. We go into starvation mode. All of this stuff can cause more problems than it's worth, because when you stop giving your body what it needs, you eventually can fall into a binge cycle of overeating and eating disorders. So we need to find out what is the proper amount of calories for each person. And this only requires you to test it out and to try and to see where you feel best. Because what's good for one person might not be good for another person. Like, for example, for me, when I was losing my 70 pounds, I was eating approximately 2,100 calories to 2,300 calories every day. And this helped me to lose 70 pounds over about 14 months. That said, the calories that I was eating, only 10% of those calories, so about 200 to 230 calories from fat, came into my diet. So I kept it at 10% calories from fats. If I was restricting my diet down to 1,200 calories, then 10% of that would have only been 120 calories from fats, which is very, very low. So you can see that the fat percentage comes into play as well, because you can eat more fat the more calories you eat. But if you go over the calorie count, then that can be a problem as well, because you're not going to be burning all of those calories. You're just going to be storing the excess. It's the law of thermodynamics. Calories in, calories burned. We need to be consuming the proper amount of calories so we don't gain weight, because anything extra can be weight gain. So we want to make sure that we find that special balance. Once I lost all my weight, I increased my calories up to about 2,400, depending on the day. Sometimes I'll eat more if I'm exercising, but to maintain my weight, I had to increase my calories just a little bit to stop continually losing weight. So you do want to play around with the amount of calories that you're eating. And you'll know, because you want to keep the same amount of calories for a whole week or so. Check the scale, check how you feel. If you feel hungry a lot, you might need to increase your calories by a couple hundred. If you're feeling way too stuffed and you're gaining weight, you might need to cut that down a little bit, maybe a couple hundred calories. Don't go overboard by cutting 500 or adding 500. Start with about 100 or 200 and find where your happy place is. I always say, if somebody doesn't know how many calories they should eat, to start at about 2,000 and work your way from there. So for the first week or two, 2,000 calories at 10% fats, and see where you are. If you're gaining weight, then cut them down to 1,900 for a week or two and see what that does. If you're feeling hungry on 2,000, then increase it to 2,100 or even 2,200 and see how you feel. This is definitely all individual based. It depends on your height, your activity level, your sleep, your cortisol levels, your stress. It's got so many different factors that come into play. So you need to listen to your own body. You don't want to undereat, but you also don't want to be overeating, because overeating can be a problem. That leads us into emotional eating, because a lot of people overeat because of emotional problems. And we have connected so many past happy experiences with food. So when we're stressed out, tired, sad, depressed, we tend to move towards those foods that had us happy when we were younger. And this just takes retraining. It takes daily motivation, daily affirmations, and you may slip up a couple times in the process, but by continually practicing motivation and affirmations, you can retrain your brain. It really takes daily practice to be able to do this, but it's possible. So instead of saying, oh, I'm so stressed out, I deserve a pizza, or it's the weekend, I can finally have this, or whatever, you need to change that into, I deserve a raw salad. So when you're stressed out, be like, I really, really want to treat myself to an amazing raw salad. And this, over time, will start to train you to believe that that is what will bring you more happiness than binging on the foods that you use when you're feeling sad. So when you're feeling sad, if you reward yourself with feeling a fresh raw salad, you're going to feel a lot better after. You're not going to have the guilt and the regret and all of that other stuff that comes with eating a food that you know isn't good for you. Tell yourself that you deserve better. You love yourself. Stand in the mirror and tell yourself that you are worth it, that you are enough. You can stand in power poses, stand nice and tall, and tell yourself that you're amazing and that you deserve to have fresh raw foods whenever you're stressed out, and every day, because it will really help deal with that stress over the long term. But it is something that you need to work on. So if you're dealing with problems with emotional eating or overeating, most of the time you can define two different main sources. There are other reasons, but the main sources for overeating due to sadness, depression, and all of that are boredom and stress. So if you are bored and you're overeating because you're sad, because there's nothing to do and you're bored or whatever, find something to do. You can eat a raw salad, but find something to do, because that could be just a reason why you just want to eat, because there's nothing else to do. You're watching TV, you're watching Netflix, you're playing phone games or whatever, and you just want to eat mindlessly. But this leads to overeating, because you can eat a lot of food without really noticing it. If you love to eat, have your raw salad while you're watching Netflix or whatever to train yourself that this is what you should be eating. And you don't have to eat a huge amount of food. A lot of people in this movement tell us that we need to eat. But 2,000 calories is actually a lot of food when you're eating low fat and high greens. It's a lot of food. So if you like eating, then this is great, because you can eat a lot of food, but you're not getting bad food. You're eating low fat, you're eating vegan foods, you're eating fresh, hydrating, raw, nutritious foods. So you can eat a lot of them, and that can satiate the need to continually eat by going low fat and eating high raw. A problem that can come along with that too is satiation. We have this idea that we need to be satiated for hours and hours. Because of the modern world, we have to be at work, our break is like 4 hours later, or, we eat and then we work and then we have to drive home, or have to pick up the kids and we have to do all this kind of stuff. And, by the time you get home to dinner, it's been 5 hours and you're like, oh, I can't live on a little salad because it won't satiate me. The problem is that this satiation is an illusion, because the foods that we're eating that are really, really calorie dense, like high fat, cooked foods, chips, dried things, they satiate us because they make us feel full for a longer period of time, because they take so long to digest. When you're eating mono meals of fruit, you can be hungry within an hour or two, because your body digests it so fast and uses it so fast that you do need to eat more often. So the real feeling of satiation is that of a light satiation, where you feel, I feel good, I don't feel like eating more, but I may need to eat more in a couple of hours, and that's completely okay. That's the more natural way our bodies were made. We shouldn't be stuffing it so full that we can sustain ourselves for 6 hours without eating. that also limits the amount of variety and nutrition that we can get, because if we're eating really super, super dense, high-fat foods, we're not getting the same amount of nutrition that you can from the same amount of calories from fresh, raw fruits and vegetables. So, I mean, you can play with it depending on how you are. We want to work on that satiation and not needing to feel stuffed and full for 6 hours, because we need to start doing the more grazing when you feel like you're hungry, topping up your energy throughout the day with little snacks here and there that really help. And I was listening to a speaker, I can't remember who it was, but they were saying that we need to get rid of breakfast, lunch, and dinner ideas. And I still do breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but I don't do them as like hardcore, like I have to have it at noon or whatever. But I do have 3 larger meals throughout the day, because that's what I feel like eating. You know, if I'm hungry, I'm going to have a big salad, and it typically ends up being 3 times a day. So that was a really interesting mindset that I was introduced to, in knowing that we should be satiating ourselves, but we still have to make sure that we get enough calories to sustain our body functions throughout the day. And when you're emotionally eating, you're eating way, way too much for your body to actually burn. And when you're bored or stressed, these are the 2 reasons, the main reasons. The third, I would have to say, would be social, because we tend to overeat when we do social things. And I was thinking about it while I was writing my notes for this video, that when I was looking back on all of the social gatherings that I went to and that I enjoyed, I hardly remember what I ate. I do remember for some things what I ate, if it was like a special meal that I made or whatever. But for the most part, if I was just going to a restaurant, half the time I don't really remember what I was eating, unless it was a favorite dish that I always got at a certain restaurant. But I remember the conversations, the things we laughed at, the hugs, the friends, the moments. That is what I remember. That is the essence of the social gatherings. We don't need to overeat, and we don't need to eat the things that other people are eating just to have a social gathering. We can eat what we feel is good for us to eat. We can bring our own food. And when you do bring your own food, you remember that, because you're sharing it with your friends and family. So that's something around the social aspect. But if you're bored, find something to do, start a hobby, learn something new, do some yoga, do some exercise, have a bath, whatever. And the same goes for stress. If you're overeating or emotional eating because of stress, find ways to de-stress that don't involve food. So again, exercise, having a bath, facial steam, yoga, meditation. Call a friend. If you're stressed out, call a friend, text a friend. Put it out there that you might need a little bit of support in this time because you're feeling a little off or whatever. Support is so, so good, and we need that. Sleep is good too. Maybe you're just tired and you need rest. A lot of us don't take our bodies up on that signal. If you're tired and stressed, then sometimes you just need a little bit of sleep. You don't need food. So hopefully some of these tips can help somebody out there. If you're looking for recipes, for my recipes on how I eat 80-10-10, how I make my dressings and everything, I have ebooks right here. You can head on over there and grab those. I also sell print copies of these books on Amazon, so you can head over there if you wanted a print copy. You can find me on Facebook, Lissa's Raw Food Romance. You can find me on Instagram at Raw Food Romance, and on Snapchat, Lissa Raw Vegan. If you like the video, please click like and subscribe to my channel to get notifications for more. You can click the little bell that will send notifications directly to you. So yeah. It was kind of a little all over the place, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love to talk, and sometimes I go on little tangents off my notes, but I hope you enjoyed it. And until the next video, guys, fruit on.